What up, folks? This is Canada Chris. So, if you're from the Serbian side, you know who I am. Otherwise, here's your intro. I'm Canada Chris. I have 36 years living in Canada. I moved to Serbia. My wife is Serbian. Her whole family is Serbian. So I moved to Serbia. I want to make some YouTube videos. I'm going to make it nice and quick. I've enlisted ChatGPT to give me different things to talk about, so we're going to talk about those here. The first thing that it gave me was what are the biggest differences in cultural festivals and celebrations between Canada and Serbia? Now, I started making this video and I think I got a little bit too weird about it, so I'm remaking it. But ultimately, we don't really have in Canada cultural celebrations and festivals. It's not really a thing that exists. Now, maybe 100 years ago or something, maybe my grandmother's generation or a little bit older celebrated more religiously some of the Christian and Catholic values, but that doesn't really exist too much in Canada. I feel like we've become so kind of like diverse and all these types of things, that there is not one religious understanding that kind of like stands true in the country. But we have remnants of it because we celebrate things like Christmas, for example. So we have Christmas, but here's the thing, okay? At no point in time is it discussed in the last like 20 years to go to church for Christmas. There are churches that exist in Canada. I had a friend who was an Orthodox Christian. Um, he brought me to church. That was very nice. I enjoyed the Bible study. But the groups, the pockets of these types of things are very, very small. And we don't have much culture in Canada. So, just in general, I don't feel like there's much culture in Canada. The world's perspective is that like we're nice people and we're productive and we like maple syrup and stuff. We play hockey, and I think that's about as cultural as it gets. Is that there's millennials out there who are all like sports rah rah, but ultimately like when you sit down with them individually, they don't care about it. It's like this thing that happens only in groups, because we're trying to like impress other people, and it's like, oh well, we're supposed to care about hockey, so like, hey, did you hear what's going on with the Maple Leafs, but then individually that person just like doesn't give two shits about the game or the players or anything like that. So it's like, where's our culture? We don't have anything to do with sports. We don't care about any of this stuff. We don't have anything to do with religious matter. We don't really care about that. We don't go to church. We don't celebrate anything. All of our holidays are just financial transactions. It's like, oh, okay, on Christmas you're supposed to like buy people gifts. That's what Christmas is about, buying other people gifts. That's all it is. And it's supposed to be a big gift because it only happens once a year, so it's supposed to be massive. Your birthdays, well, that's when you celebrate somebody, and so you take them out to go get them completely fucking wasted. You just got to go drinking. If you're a girl, you go nuts on that, like bar hopping, crazy, whatever girl thing that you guys do. If it's the guy side, here comes the sports again because that's like we got to get drunk, go to a sports bar, and then like buy them shit, but then like no one buys them anything because it's like, oh, we don't have any fucking money. So that's pretty sad. Then we've got like, let's say like Valentine's Day or like Thanksgiving or something like that. And like Valentine's Day is just like everybody's depressed because they don't have somebody, or everybody who has somebody ends up feeling like shit because everybody else is mad at them because they have someone and that they're single. Anyways, Thanksgiving, it's like, oh, you have to go sit down with your family. Like no one wants to do it. Everybody fucking does it, which is this is just it's sickening actually. Now that I think about it, there's like there's just no culture in Canada. The majority of the culture that is in Canada, honestly, comes from outside of Canada. Um, And because I'm not geographically intelligent or anything like that, and I am not a PC type of guy, okay? Take this with a grain of salt because I'm just trying to explain shit and I don't know all your perfect words, which I don't think it really matters for Serbia. But, anyways, the most amount of culture that you'll see are just like the groups of like Arabs or like Africans or Chinese or whatever that are in Canada, and they're bringing their traditions from their families and their countries into Canada, and then they share that cultural experience with themselves and their family, and that's it, right? And so like the largest get together of a family that I've ever seen in my entire life, which seemed to be like some kind of like massive wedding or something. I have no idea. And there was just people like just all in the street, like everywhere. Was this black family that lived in the building across from us, and they were having some kind of celebration, and it was like all of their family. Like we're talking like cousins, brothers, sisters, uncles, extended everything was like dressed up, well dressed, coming in and paying their respects and visiting, and then they were parked, their cars were parked all along the road, and they were like everywhere, and it was like there was like 20 of them at the building, and there was a whole bunch of them at the barber shop, and then a whole bunch at the food shop, and anyways, it was crazy. But it's like, when was the last time that I saw, like like a white person or a Canadian doing this kind of thing? It's like, no, that doesn't exist. So, yeah, that's really kind of sad. That's really kind of sad. Canada doesn't really have that type of, cultural experience. That doesn't exist. And if there is any of it, it's either fake and hollow or shallow and kind of disgusting. Wow, that was a really depressing video.